Compendium. First, yeah, I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up. So what made you write this book, and what's going on with your book?
So the kind of genesis of the book was simply that there wasn't a, let's say, a Bible, so to speak, of sprinting. And me and my buddy, Carl Valley, who writes a lot for this website called Simply Faster, and previously wrote for a website called Elite Track, where he did a lot of articles there. And we got into this discussion. There's a book out there called the Jack Daniels Running Formula, and it has nothing to do with whiskey. It has to do with this coach named Jack Daniels, who was very famous at the Division III ranks and then internationally, where he's been a great coach. And basically this book was a variety of different systems that you could plug and play as a distance coach. And so as a sprint coach, he and I were discussing, like, where is that book for sprinting? And I think that, you know, as we discussed tonight, some of these conversations, there's a little bit of mythology behind what it takes to be a great sprinter, and can you produce them, can you not? And so my goal was to go out there and find as many different opinions about training speed and power and put them all in one place to create some connective tissue and to help people be inspired to think deeply about what they do and why they do things, and that to be pushed a little bit and to be stretched out of their comfort zone on ways that we can improve speed. And I look at it as being practitioners of speed. And why I call it practitioners is that we have a practice. It's a medical practitioner, right? When you hear that in medicine, and it's the same idea for us as coaches. There are lots of different ways to use the science and then the art of great coaches and put them together. And where I kind of came up with that idea was that a long time ago, John Wooden, when he was coaching, the famous UCLA basketball coach, maybe the best coach in all sports, all time, anywhere, he would go out and find things that he felt were critical issues in his program. And every summer he would go and contact who he thought were like the 10 best coaches in that subject. And then what he would do is he would send out this like list of questions, like, how do you handle free throw shooting? Where do you put it in practice? How do you fix technique of the free throw? And he'd ask all these questions. And then the coaches who participated would not only get John Wooden's information on that, but they would get the other 10 coaches from around the world who were really good at that particular subject. So it was this idea of this camaraderie, this council of experts that you would get together once every summer to try to fix these difficult problems to improve yourself. And you would think, like, John Wooden, how the heck is he going to improve when he's won 10 straight titles? But that's why he won 10 straight titles, because he was a growth mindset coach. And so my vision was to provide coaches that in a book in one place with who I think are 50 of the most influential coaches in the world in terms of speed and track and field.
Okay. So I know we're talking about speed and sprinters, and I know you hit just a little bit on DNA. We're going to get a little deeper in it. So do you think any runner can be a sprinter? Do you think that?
So and I know you asked your other guests the same question, and it's yes, I think that most people can get better through training. I think that's an obvious yes. But I think the problem is finding out what their best event is. So like in Missouri, we have 19 events, right? So there's almost something for every body type, every discipline, every skill set. And I think where most coaches fail is that they don't do a lot of testing to figure it out. And I know your last guest talked about, like, we can't do DNA testing. Well, that's true. We cannot. But we can work in the averages. So like on 23andMe, they've done a ton of research on people's DNA. And one of the things that they captured was the actin-3 gene. Now, what's really interesting about the actin-3 gene is it comes in like 3 types. You have a CC type, a CT type, and a TT type. Well, a CC is a person who's very explosive, very powerful, but quick to fatigue. A CT type is a little mixture of speed, power, and endurance. And then a TT type is probably a very long, slow, enduring athlete. Now, interestingly enough, even for events like the 10,000 meters, those dudes drop it like it's hot in the last 400 meters and can run a 50 flat for their last 400 in a 10K. So you still have to be extraordinarily talented and have a good mixture of that quick twitch and slow twitch fiber. Now, not to get into the conversation of race, but race plays a role, according to 23andMe, in the percentages that people sit within that gene. Now, what's really cool is that you have, like, in the middle, that CT version where most of the people sit around the world. So what you should do strategically is start there with your training, test a variety of different things that test speed, power, suppleness, endurance, lactic threshold, muscle, absolute strength, absolute speed. And what you create is this whole, like, radar graph of data to tell you they're really good here or they're really good there. And then what a good coach does is then make some assumptions based on that testing over the years of other athletes that they tested. And so when you're in the window where it's a pretty smart choice, which for me, and I'm wearing might not be able to see, but I'm wearing a 400 meter dash